Okay. So throughout this course, we have been learning about developmentally appropriate things that children do at certain age groups. So developmentally appropriate practices is just an approach to teaching or working with children, adults in general, that is grounded in research. So it's teaching practices, strategies, and methods that we do as we interact with people of various age groups. So for instance, when we talk to a young child, we may get down on their level and talk to them face to face, whereas if we did that to an adult, it wouldn't be age appropriate. It wouldn't be developmentally appropriate. So we do certain things with certain ages depending on their maturity and their age range and what their level of domains that they're working within. So when working with a specific age range, we must understand the age range and the developmental levels of the individual so that we can best meet the needs of the individuals we are working with. So for your final project, you're going to be thinking in the future, and you're going to be reflecting upon the future career that you want. So some of you may want to work with young children, some may want to work with adolescents, some of you may just want to work with adults. But the way that we work with these people, we have to understand their development over time to understand what we can do with them. So in adolescence, we got to be careful to where they don't think we're treating them like they're young children, like they're babies. And we don't want to teach algebra to a kindergartner because that's not in their zone of proximal development or in their scheme of thinking, as Piaget would say. So we have to think about these individuals in different ways. So using your textbook, using outside sources, using graphics, charts, illustrations, the PowerPoints that we created at the beginning of the course, the cheat notes, you're going to create a PowerPoint presentation addressing these 6 main prompts. And you're going to upload this presentation to the assignment folder and also in the discussion board so your peers can view them in week 9. So the prompts here, the first prompt is just your future career. So you're going to describe your prospective future career. What is it that you would like to do in the future? And then also describe with whom you will be working with. So are you going to be working with early childhood, middle childhood, adolescents, adults, late adults? Who are you going to be working with? You're also going to describe the age range you will be working with as well. So describe them in detail. What about them? How old are they going to be? And then also describe why you want to work with these individuals and this age group. So the first prompt is basically an overview of what do you want to do and who you will be working with and why you want to work with who you want to work with in your future. The second prompt is about the physical domains. So in this domain, in this prompt, you're going to describe the physical abilities of the individuals you will be working with based on their age range. So in early childhood, for instance, what can they do? What are they trying to work on to be able to do? And then in adolescence or adulthood, what have they already mastered? So there's a lot of things that are kind of common sense that we think that everybody can do. But in early childhood, for instance, they don't know how to use scissors. They don't know how to cut a straight line. So that's something that they're still working on in kindergarten. But an adult, we wouldn't show them how to use scissors. So explain these physical milestones of this age group. Describe the fine motor skills of this age group. Describe the gross motor skills. So another example of this would be a kindergartner could probably jump on 2 feet. But hopping on 1 foot might be a little challenging for them because they don't have the coordination and the balance. Whereas an adolescent, a high schooler, we would expect them to be able to do something like that. So just describe. You may have to go backwards into milestones, and you may have to go forward into milestones to see what they're supposed to be able to do, whereas what they should have already mastered. Now, the last part of this prompt, you're going to, based off of your future career, so based off of what you want to do, you're going to describe 3 or more physical activities that you could do with these individuals in age groups. So for instance, my example was young children, you're trying to teach them how to use scissors. So if you're working in early childhood, that would be a physical activity that you would want them to do. Whereas adults, you would expect them to already to be able to create using scissors. So you wouldn't be teaching them how to use the scissors. You would just incorporate that physical activity into a project that you may be having them do. And then the next prompt is the cognitive domain. Now, the cognitive domain has a lot of bullets under it, so make sure that you're addressing all of these bullets. So you're going to describe the cognitive abilities of the individuals you will be working with based on their age range. Describe the cognitive milestones of this age group. So for instance, going back to Noah in your first virtual field experience, he was learning object permanence. So that is one of his milestones. Whereas in adolescence, we expect them to be able to think abstractly. Whereas younger children, we expect them to think in the concrete, in the now, and using manipulatives to understand. So explain how their thinking has changed, or describe their thinking at this time. And to help you with that, you're going to describe specific theorists that we have covered throughout this class to help you understand what to do with the unique population you will be with in your future career. So you're going to describe Piaget's theory of cognitive development. So what is it? And provide any graphics, illustrations to help you explain the theory or concept. Then you're going to describe which stage of Piaget's theory these individuals are at. So what stage are they at? Some children, depending, some early childhood and middle childhood, they're overlapping in stages. So you may have to describe two or more. Same thing with middle childhood and adolescence. They're kind of in this bridge category where they're kind of in both. It just kind of depends on their maturity. And then based upon Piaget's theory, describe 3 or more strategies, methods, and activities that are developmentally appropriate for this age group and individuals, and then explain. Now here it says 3 or more strategies, methods, and activities. You only have to have 3 total. So it could be a strategy, a method, and an activity. It could be 3 strategies. It could be 3 activities. However you want it, as long as you have 3 examples of things that are developmentally appropriate for this age group based off of Piaget. The next part, you're going to describe Bruner's cognitive theory. You're going to provide graphics, illustrations, and charts to help you explain the theory or concept. And then using Bruner's cognitive learning theory, again, you're going to describe 3 or more strategies, methods, or activities that are developmentally appropriate for this age group and individuals. And you're going to explain. Then it moves on to Bandura's social cognitive and social learning theory. You're going to describe that theory. You're going to provide graphics and illustrations. And then using Bandura's social cognitive and social learning theory, you're going to describe 3 or more strategies, methods, or activities that are developmentally appropriate, and you're going to explain why these are appropriate. Now, Bandura goes a little bit deeper than just his social cognitive and social learning theory. He also talks about self-efficacy, self-reflection, and self-regulation. So you're going to describe these concepts. You're going to provide graphics that help you explain the theory or concept. And you're going to explain how using the concept of self-efficacy, self-reflection, and self-regulation is developmentally appropriate for your age group. So why would you teach them self-efficacy strategies? Why would you teach them about self-reflection? And why would you help them with their self-regulation? Why are these 3 things so important to the age group that you are working with? Then we move on into Vygotsky and his social cognitive and sociocultural learning theory. So you're going to describe his theory, You're going to provide graphics, illustrations, charts to help you explain the theory or concept. And then using Vygotsky's social cognitive and sociocultural learning theory, you're going to describe 3 or more strategies, methods, and activities that are developmentally appropriate based off of your age group. Going a little bit deeper into Vygotsky, you're also going to talk about his zone of proximal development, his ZPD. So you're going to provide graphics, illustrations, and charts to help you explain ZPD. And then you're going to explain how using Vygotsky's ZPD is developmentally appropriate for this age group and individuals. You're also going to describe his concept of scaffolding, which goes in with ZPD. And you're going to explain how scaffolding is appropriate for your age group and the individuals you want to work with. And then the last person in the cognitive domain is Skinner and his theory of operant conditioning. So you're going to describe what Skinner's operant conditioning is. You're going to provide graphics, illustrations, charts to help you explain the theory or the concept. And using his operant conditioning, you're going to describe 3 or more strategies, methods, and activities, and classroom and behavior management procedures that are developmentally appropriate for this age group and individuals. So you're going to describe what you could do through Skinner's theory to work with these individuals that you're going to want to work with later. And then the last domain that we will be covering is the social emotional domain. So you're going to describe the social emotional abilities of the individuals you'll be working with based off of their age range. So describe some of the milestones. So for instance, young children are very egocentric. As you develop over into adolescence and adults, you start thinking less about yourself and more about other people. So you can talk about that. So just describe it depending on your age group. Here you're going to describe Erikson's psychosocial theory. So you're going to provide graphics to help you explain that theory. You're going to describe what stage of Erikson's psychosocial theory these individuals are at. So what is their crisis? And you're going to explain how this psychosocial stage affects how you will work with these individuals and this age range. And then describe 3 or more strategies, methods, and activities that are developmentally appropriate for your age group and individuals based off of Erikson's theory. And then the very last one for social emotional is Kohlberg's theory of moral development. So you're going to describe Kohlberg's theory. You're going to provide graphics, illustrations, and charts to help you explain the theory or concept. You're going to describe what level and stage of Kohlberg's theory of moral development these individuals are at. You're going to explain how this theory, level, and stage affect how you will work with these individuals and age range. And you're going to describe 3 or more strategies, methods, and activities that are developmentally appropriate based off of Kohlberg's theory, level, and stages. The very last 2 parts of your project are your conclusion. So based upon all the information you gave in the presentation, you're going to provide a slide where you wrap up what you said in prompts 1 through 4. Make sure to state your future career and age group again, and re-emphasize the importance of using developmentally appropriate practices. So make sure that you explain why it is so important that we teach and interact with people based off of their age range, their domains, all of those developmentally appropriate things that we need to be aware of. And then your very last slides are your reference. So make sure that you go back in and you have your APA citations for all the sources you used in the presentation, and that you use Al Purdue APA to help you set up your citations in APA format, and the link is right here for you. So this project consists of 6 prompts. However, your presentation obviously is not going to be 6 slides. Your presentation honestly is probably going to be anywhere from 30 to 40 slides because you don't want too much information on one slide. So for instance, when you're going through this presentation and you're creating it, you're probably going to want an opening slide, a title slide. You're probably going to want anywhere from 1 to 2 slides for your future career, depending on how much you put on those slides. For the physical domain, you're probably going to want at least 1 to 3 slides here, maybe even 4. And then for your cognitive domain, with all the different theorists, you're probably going to have at least 2 to 3 slides per theorist. So you're describing the concept, you're describing the illustrations, and you're also describing the strategy. So you're going to have multiple slides. So don't think that this presentation is going to be really quick and you're going to have to work on it for a good long period of time. So make sure that you're using this time in this week that I'm giving you in week 8 to work on this presentation, because it does have a lot of slides. But it kind of depends on you and how you set up your slides. On average, though, honestly, these presentations typically are anywhere from about 35 to 40 slides. Now, don't feel that you have to have 35 to 40. It just depends. But anything less, honestly, anything less than 30, you probably did not address all of the prompts. So make sure that you address all of the prompts. So coming down here to the bottom, you have your rubric. Well, first thing, this rubric is very, very long. It is very, very long because there's a lot of things that you are doing. But overall, the most important thing that you need to know is that how many points it is worth. It is worth 235 points. This is your final project, so make sure that you take your time, you go back and you look at it, you send it to me to review so that I can help you. So I will give you feedback on it, but you need to go in and take the time to do it. So going over the rubric, like I said, it is pretty long. So coming back up to the top here. As long as you're addressing all of the prompts, that is how you get your points. So as long as you're describing in detail and you've included all the answers to the prompts, that is when you get all of your points. So make sure that you are very, very detailed in what you say. And I will let you go back over all of these. So just make sure that you have 3 strategies. If you have any less than 3 strategies, then it goes down. But just make sure that it's very, very detailed. Just go back and look at the rubric. Go back and look at the prompts. But honestly, if you answer everything that's under the prompts, you are hitting every point that's on the rubric. My rubric matches up exactly with the guidelines. So make sure that you're following the guidelines clearly and not leaving anything out. Down here at the bottom, there's a couple of things added in here, and it's really just for your uploading into the discussion board. Give me just a second. So you have your references, and then you have your APA formatting, your grammar and mechanics, so making sure that you're paying attention to grammar and punctuation. You do have a part where all the parts of the prompts are addressed. Everything is accurate, and you have references and in-text citations. And then if anybody asks you questions, you can answer them clearly and accurately. So we will have where you post it in the discussion board and everybody reviews it, and they will give you feedback and ask you questions. So make sure that you go in and you address those questions. And then making sure that you upload it to the discussion board is also a part of your grade. Now, for this project, there is no example because it all depends on your future career. So it's all based off of what you do. So please make sure that you go and you have your meeting with me. And if you need an additional meeting with me, you do so. So if you have any questions about your developmentally appropriate practice, future career project, make sure you address that during your Google Hangout time. And if you have any questions or would like me to review or talk through theorists with you, please let me know.